So my wife is getting so fed up with me. She's telling me I'm a mama's boy. I have to choose between my mom or her. Well, you know what I decide to do? I laid out everything. I love my mom, and, well, there's some things that I need to tell you guys. But first I'm going to let you know. Yeah, you. Come here. Little closer. I picked my mom. One question, how can I escape a conflict between the two women I love most in the world? My mom and my wife. But before you start saying a mother always has to be put above all else, I beg to differ what the thought is. I say that because I always had this idea that if a person, whether it be your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, or whoever, is mean to you, or if they're a low-life person, drink, uses drugs, steals, kills, then even if they're your family or closest friends, they should not be worth any sort of respect. This is not the exact case, relax, but it's just to give you my stance on these things. Ever since I've been dating Emily just under 5 years ago, it's been an internal conflict between my mom and her. When we got married and I finally moved out of the house to move in with her 3 years ago, I thought my problem would end, but they didn't. Ever so often, my mom would write me asking for favors that would end with me staying at her house. And that annoyed Emily. You have a job scheduled the next day and you end up being late because of her, Emily used to tell me. It was true, however, she was no saint either. On at least 2 occasions, she did not tell me that my mom had called me when she answered the phone in the living room, and one of those calls was very, very important. In other words, the two of them were at a war with each other. I could end up making a whole book of anecdotes, but the fight between the two of them and how they ended up not talking to each other because of my ultimatum. I told them that I did not want any more mentions of each other, and that the next time I saw one of them being cruel or derogatory towards the other, that would be it for me. Since then, they had both been too calm, not speaking to each other. And even when I mentioned them in conversation, they did not seem to care. They went so far as to ask me about each other when I was with them, looking for them to be okay, and to me, that was the end of it. Of course, I would not push my luck by inviting them both to any meetings together. That would be too much to ask, but I'm content just knowing that I can coexist with the two of them separately. But then something came up. Mom started to feel a little sick and started looking for my help around the house, and like a good son, I did as she asked. My older brother is away with his family, so I'm delegated to take care of her. She'll be in her late 70s, and our family has records of several degenerative diseases. Of course, they appear with time, and the truth is that Mom never presented them at any time. And to have them from the day to the next is too difficult. But now it seemed as if she was ill. She was getting a little pale and claimed to have a fever. Only she did not have a temperature rise. Well, that started to make Emily suspicious. And that's why she decided to do something a little drastic, if you ask me. I don't know how, but she learned a trick to see private conversations on cell phones. She managed to get into one of Mom's conversations with my aunt, her younger sister. Emily told me that she only looked for conversations with her name as the keyword, and she said this so I would not be so critical of her invasion of privacy. While I'm still somewhat upset about this, I'm now also angry about what I saw in those conversations. Mom was talking about it in an overly derogatory way of Emily, calling her names and a lot of messages of what she thought of her. The messages don't go as far as the older conversations, but still, that she still thought that way about Emily, it felt bad. Especially since Emily had not done anything to her in a long, long time, and had even admitted in front of me that she now had a better idea about Emily. I don't know what to do, because Emily had no qualms about showing me the conversation she had with family and friends about my mom, and she only said positive things about that woman. There was a noticeable decomposition there, and even though the answers was obvious, it was still uncomfortable to make a decision. I know they loathe each other for the mere fact of being with me. My mom for the sense of, she took my son away from me, while Emily goes more to the side of, when will he stop being under his mom's wings? Which makes a lot of sense when they put it that way. However, this talking behind people's back is beyond wrong. But finding out about other people's conversation isn't a very honorable act on Emily's part either. She went so far as to tell me that Mom was even pretending to be sick so she could spend more time with me, knowing that I was the only one who could take care of her. That's a very serious accusation, and one that cannot be taken lightly. So I was analyzing my mom's condition, and the truth is that, according to what all the test results show, she's perfectly fine, and that's why the balance is in Emily's favor. That's why I decided to open this text with that question. But only time will tell who will be the winner or if anyone will win this. Update number 1. With much regret, I must confess something. There was a winner in this twisted competition, and it was Emily. Mom admitted that she had indeed written things about her, but I stopped listening to her on the phone and hung up on her before she could tell me more. I was devastated. Mom had always taught me not to speak ill of people behind their back, and yet she did not put her own teachings to practice. I was shattered and disappointed, and since then, I haven't communicated with my mom again, and although she tried to make a couple calls to me, she got the message, so she stopped writing. The worst part is that I think her illness was fake, because I was the one who bought her medicine, and since then she has no signs of needing it. If she were really serious, she would have already sent me to my brother or my aunt to tell them that she needed my support with it. The medicine they can't afford themselves because of other expenses they have, and it's kinda sad that she faked that just to be with me. I totally understand the position I was in with Emily, but it was not to go to those extremes. Now, I have to come to terms with the idea that my mom won't be a present person in my life. Can anybody really get over this? I talked it over with one of my best friends, and he said it wasn't my fault. People often do crazy things for love, and although my mom did everything to have me, she also has to understand that I'm not her little boy. I grew up and can balance my life with her and my wife. Or, well, I could. Since after this experience, I want to be in a complete solitude. Even Emily can't fill the void I have, so I've been hanging with my friends more. She at least supports my being able to go out with others and doesn't make extra demands on my time. That's precisely what I wish for. That everything can have a balance, and if I want to go out with other people, it's because I'm an adult capable of doing whatever I want. I also talked to my brother about it even. Unlike me, he didn't have the best relationship with Mom. They did not get along badly, not at all, but she used to worry quite a bit when he moved out of the house years ago. He was about to start his life with his wife and new baby, but our mom wanted to get into his world by cooking, cleaning, or just doing anything she could to be by his side. Then they moved away, and family visits were not as frequent, and my mom was very sad after that, but there was nothing else that could be done. It was time to leave the nest and let the birds fly away from their mother. Update number 2. This is awkward, and it puts me in a state of mind that I don't think I've ever experienced before. My mom's just been taken to the hospital due to complications with her illness. I was told this by my aunt, who told me that my mom explicitly asked her not to tell me about it because of what we went through before. However, the situation was so complicated that she thought it was appropriate to tell me. In fact, it was so complex that I even talked to my brother, who surprisingly was aware of everything. And he told me that he's been paying for certain medicines. Even when I told him that everything could be false, he told me that he could not leave her in those conditions, but that he understood my position and that he did not want me to go through any more bad things. Well, it turns out that when I arrived, I found my mom quite thin, almost like a skeleton, and my appearance was no better. I was very surprised. It had only been a few weeks since we stopped talking to each other. The doctor told me that my mom did not have it easy, but somehow she managed to survive. Long enough just to be able to stay on her feet longer than she thought that she might have to. But what hurt me the most was when Mom saw me. I thought she would be hating me, treating me indifferently, blaming me for everything, or at least looking for excuses, but no. She just cried. She told me she missed me and how have I been doing. She also asked me about Emily and if she was okay. I could barely tell her that everything was fine, and she gave me a very faint smile. She filled me in on the situation, that she needed my help at the time, but she knew that I had already made my decision and rather wanted to, quote, get it all out soon. So she could give me some peace. It made me feel incredibly bad, and I wanted to apologize for everything. I told her that despite what happened, I should never abandon her, and that at the moment of truth I could not accompany her enough, thinking that she was in her last moments of life. She answered me not to worry, that as a mother she was prone to moments like that. She told me that, quote, it comes with the job when you have a child. She had even talked to my brother and had a conversation with him. Ironically, it was that I told her that all the messaging fuss had been a waste of time, and she told me that it was always puzzling to her that I would react so badly to such harmless messages, and I told her that, with all due respect, the messages that Emily showed me were not harmless, but rather were very racy. She was taken back by this and asked what part was offensive, and that's when the reason I'm writing today happened, guys. It appears that the messages Emily passed on to me were completely false. They were made in such a way that they appeared to be real conversations between my mom and aunt, going as far as to have the same profile picture. We corroborated this when I saw my mom and aunt's conversations, where they at no time spoke ill of Emily. They only moderately said bad things, is that on one occasion my mom said, I hope their baby doesn't turn out to be as much trouble as their mother. That's it. Just that. Otherwise, sometimes she would even say positive things about Emily. And that's when I was the one who felt sick. As our conversation progressed, the more we realized that in reality it was all a setup, and that unless my mom had found a way to delete the conversations, with dates included, then it would mean that Emily lied to me in the worst possible way. To cheat on your partner is one thing, but to play with the lives of your family, especially your mother, that's clearly not well. And this possibility is the right one. Well, because I talked to my aunt afterward just to corroborate the conversations, and indeed, they did not fit. I went so far as to look at the conversations of both of them and compare the time of the messages, which wasn't easy work because they didn't match. But by drawing some Sherlock Holmes deduction, I was able to figure out that even with code words, they were not going to show up. Because my mom and my aunt did not usually talk at the time shown in the screenshots that Emily gave to me. So the roles are reversed, because now I'm about to have a very serious conversation with Emily, just to find out how she tries to defend herself from all that's going on. When I got home, she acted all natural, and for a second I was even considering checking her phone myself, to first give her a taste of her own medicine, and second, to corroborate that what she was saying was untrue. I have a few ideas in mind of how this situation I'm going through with my mom can help me, because I swear this is going to be retaliation for this, and Emily's going to pay for it. The easy way would be just to get a divorce, but I'd be losing too much with that. The best thing to do is to go another route, not as fast, but one that hurts her. I provide the most for the household, and I'm 110% positive that not having me will bring a lot of things down for her. We could have spent many years together, but these kind of things are not to be discussed, and I admit that I was the one who was at fault for not having corroborated the information before with my mom. Anger can sometimes win us over. Dear readers, hey, don't let yourself be carried away with it, because sooner or later it'll make you make the worst decisions of your life. Decisions that in some cases have no way back. Update number 3. Brace yourselves because it's coming down hard. I talked to Emily and everything went to hell for her. At first I acted very calm, even making conversations with her to see how she was acting about the issue. We were with a friend whom I had told everything, and he lent himself to help me. He's an actor, so he helped me fake it well. When I started talking to him about how badly my mom treated Emily, with the text and everything as evidence, she not only confirmed this, but victimized herself and said that, incidentally, my mom was faking her illness, and that it was very brazen of her to cheat on her son like that. My friend and I did keep quiet and had a relaxing evening as we planned. However, later in the evening, I kept broaching the subject on my end, telling Emily that I could no longer believe everything my mom had told me. And I would tell you textually what she said as I secretly recorded her with my phone. She said, "Honey, it's terrible what people can do to be with their family members. But as you said yourself, when people fool others, they don't deserve to be treated well." How can someone like her say such a hypocrisy? It should even be illegal. It was then that I told her all about it. I said, "Funny, you should say that because the one who cheated on me was someone else." She all at once became defensive, knowing who I was referring to. In other words, she forgot to pretend that she didn't know what she was talking about, giving herself away. I asked her why she did that, and that's when she pulled out the "I don't know what you're talking about" instead of, quote, "What do you mean?" I told her that I've seen the messages she sent me, they were fake. But she told me they weren't, that she got them from my mom's phone. So I asked her how, and she replied, "And why do I have to tell you that?" I told her that if she did not tell me, it's because she was indeed lying to me. I raised my voice, and so did she. I was afraid that the neighbors would hear us and call the police or something, and I was complaining to her that everything they were really telling me was pure lies. And although I could understand the fact that she did not like my mom, to have deceived me like that, and when my mom was just convalescing, I get a little carried away by my emotions, because I tend to think about what could have happened if I had not got to my mom in time. I told her that if I had let her go on like that, I would have possibly lost her. But it would no longer be entirely my fault, but in large part it would have been her fault, and that would weigh on her conscience forever. She told me that she did not understand why I was so upset if Mom still saw me as a spoiled child anyways. I yelled, "Because I'm her child. That's a mother's job." Which makes me thankful we never have children, because now you can tell Emily is not mother material, and she felt bad after that. She starts crying, but I was still upset. She starts apologizing to me, saying it would not happen again, and that she regretted everything. That's when my plan would start to go. I told her that I could not let that go, and that unfortunately splitting up would be the best option. She told me that she would have no problem with it, but I told her that the separation was final and it meant divorce. She went into despair and told me that she could not accept that, and to have consideration for her. Of course, I wasn't going to have any respect for her after what she did, but I was able to have my little revenge. I told her to help me take care of my mom, as she was in medical care, and eventually, when we got out of the hospital, we would have to bring her to our home. She at first objected, but she swallowed her pride and told me she would do it. Even if it was reluctantly, and you know what, it's just unbelievable. She makes me ignore my mom, and yet she has the nerve to complain. But hey, what can you expect from a person who has done everything she did? Answer, not much. Update number 4. Let's see where to start. Let's just say that Emily managed to learn her lesson, although I won't be there with her to see the results. I say that it's mostly because we parted ways ultimately. At my request, it was after 2 months when she was my mom's slave, so to speak. She was the one who was in charge of her care most of the time. I told her that in order not to lose our marriage, it's best for her to make amends for her mistakes by helping the person she affected the most. It was a very uncomfortable situation having to see my mom to her face after everything that happened, but it doesn't make me feel that bad. Mostly because Emily never apologized to my mom for anything that happened. And I tell you, dear readers, had she done that, I would have reconsidered my plan and everything, but she never did. So it kept up the little charade for all that time, a time that no matter how well she did everything would end the same way, a divorce. I did all this because I needed some time to get the required paperwork for Emily not to kick me to the curb. Taking all of our positions, ironically, her taking care of Mom meant that I had more free time to process the papers and get everything in order. Hooray for me! After some time, and when Mom arrived at our house, I hired a personal nurse, and Emily told me that she could finally rest from all of the work and taking care of her. Then I told her that of course she could rest, just that not there, because that would no longer be her home. Guys, I'd never seen a woman such anger ever like this. She gets upset, insults me, yells at me at one point, even went so far to insult my mom, who was only a few rooms away, by the way. She told me that she wasn't going to sign the divorce papers and that if she did, she would fight to the ends of the earth so that she could take everything that I have. That's why I decided to abide by my lawyer's friend's advice, which was to threaten her with a lawsuit on charges of cheating and psychological abuse. I told her I have all the evidence, being the images of the conversation between my mom and my aunt that she altered, and if that wasn't enough, I had the recording of the night that we argued, which could easily be corroborated on any objection that she put to me, and in short, I had her in checkmate. That and the whole pretending to have hacked into a private conversation just to manipulate me, ugh. She just said goodbye, saying that she would finally rest, not only from my mom but from me. If that were so, why did she want to stay with me in the first place before doing all those humiliations to herself? Emily didn't know what else to do, and I gave her one last piece of advice. If she ever went out with another man, she has to leave his family alone. She no longer is interested in me at the least, and leaving her humiliated and defeated, I can proudly say, guys, I won. Final update. Hey guys, for me to reflect on my whole story and on the risk of acting impulsively, here it is. Either because of the way I acted or my ex-wife. Well, I finally divorced Emily, that's right. Since this thing she did was unforgivable, I can understand Mom's weakness regarding my leaving home, but she didn't go as far as to do something so bad for me or Emily herself. Oh, the contraire. She went out of her way to make us feel comfortable around her, and she continues to do so with me despite what a bad son I was. I should have made it clear that she is in much better health now. She managed to recover from the illness that she had, and at 68, she says she's in her golden age, where she can enjoy a little more with her grandson, because it turns out that my brother, concerned about Mom's health, traveled to be with us for a few days to help take care of her. Well, those days have been extended to a couple of months. And when I asked my brother whether his or his wife would have no problems with their job, he told me that they worked remotely, so there was nothing to worry about, and I kinda envy them for that. I don't want to be at my office every day. My mom's bursting with happiness to have her grandson by her side, with whom she gets along well. But me, on the other hand, well, the divorce thing was pretty tough for me, because of the whole shared property thing, and that in the end, I had to give it to Emily. She was telling me to keep them with me since there wasn't enough room in her mother's house to house them all. So I decided to buy them from her. She had some extra money, yes, but it came with the pain of losing everything because of her selfish attitude. Many of our friends found out about it and decided to exclude her from their social circles, fearing that she would do the same. One of her friends even spoke to me privately, saying that this situation reminds her very much of something Emily did years ago with another one of her friends, who, by the way, she no longer speaks to as I never even met her. She made false messages to make her think that she was the victim of an argument, and when the friend found out, she stopped speaking to her forever, and they were both very, very close. We're surprised that after that event, Emily kept that practice up. I mean, you just saw that these deceptions end up affecting you, so why keep doing it? Well, that will be a mystery that we will never be able to solve. Mom is very happy that I finally got out of that relationship that she considered lost, even going so far as to become a crony to her other daughter-in-law, my brother's wife, with whom she already had a good relationship with, but this only made it grow. The last I heard from Emily was that she was traveling with her family, although she keeps away from social networks because she had lost a lot of acceptance from her quote audience, and who would want to be with a person like that? I talked to my mom and asked her for forgiveness. We cried in front of each other, and it was quite emotional. After my brother arrived, it felt surreal to see him, my mom, and me at the same table. Then my aunt arrived and joined the club of trash talking about Emily. But it's like they say, every pig gets its Christmas. And there's one thing you should not mess with. It's your partner's family. They may have a lot of negative values, but as long as they don't affect you on a grand scale, you learn to love them one way or the other. I hope Emily learns that someday, and realizes her mistake once and for all, and in the meantime, my mom is even introducing me to the daughter of one of her old college friends. Hoo-hoo! And let me tell you, from what I've seen, she doesn't look half bad. It may be too soon for something serious, but as long as I have my family, nothing bad can happen. Am I right, everybody? So that small compensation that OP's wife was still able to get her hands on, a lot of the people in the comment section were so mad about that. They were saying how they wanted her to have nothing. I mean, the way that she treated OP and OP's mom was toxic and disgusting for somebody to do what she did. And I just want to hear from you guys. What would you have personally done if you find yourself in this position? Hey guys, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every single day, and if you guys want to be a part of these daily stories, the best way is just to subscribe to the channel, and we can discuss in the comment section down below what you would have done if you found yourself in this position and it was your wife who was lying to you about your mother. Let me know what you would have done, guys. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope to see you tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.